So, how to thrive in an ecosystem economy? Huge topic. The framework, obviously, of this discussion is the whole agenda topic for this conference, which is the Telco to Techco. I've got three panelists with me, all of them coming from leading companies in their space. I would like, maybe before we start diving into the topic, maybe have a very quick introduction of each one of you. And I'll start from the way I see you on my camera, which is Jeroen first. You're on mute, Jeroen.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Jeroen Verbruggen. I'm working at Proximus, and I'm responsible for IT architecture, strategy, program management, and public cloud.
Very good. And the next one I have on my screen is Frank.
Hi, thank you, Dario. Hi, everyone. Sorry for my voice, not very good today. So I'm Frank Morales. I'm working for Orange Wholesale International, and I'm leading the product and business development team in charge of all the product portfolio of what we are doing currently in Orange Wholesale International. And I'm very happy to be with you today.
And we're very happy for you to be with us. And then the next one is Kirk.
Hi, I'm Kirk McBean. I'm glad to be here. I lead the solutions architect for the software-defined edge division at Broadcom. And really our focus is on the network. So building the cloud platform for operators for the RAN, core, RIC, SMO, and so on as operators transform.
Okay, thank you so much all for your introduction. Maybe I know this event has been going on for 2 days discussing the wider topic of Telco to Techco. But it occurs to me that, you know, if you ask the question about what do you mean by Techco from a telco point of view, you ask that to 100 people, you get 200 different versions of the story. And maybe it'd be interesting for our audience today is to understand from your point of view, when you think about Techco, what do you actually have in mind? What do you think a Techco is? Maybe we can start from Jeroen. No, sorry, apologize for mispronouncing your name. Jeroen. I don't know if the
Jeroen, but I think it's very close. Well done. I've heard worst versions of my name, so it's very.
Apologies for that.
No, I think what I think about, when you think about what it means to be a Techco or to transform a telco to Techco, I should always reflect on why was the initial driver. And for me, it comes from the fact that, of course, especially as incumbent telco operators, we're operating in a market with not so high revenue growth and in parallel a lot of need to invest in our networks. So it's a very constrained environment. And then, of course, which drives the imperative to look for growth opportunities outside of the traditional core business, to really switch and go more from a kind of a constraint-led strategy to more an ambition-led strategy. And of course, where will you find that growth? That might be for all telcos a bit different. For us, it's international domain with digital communication solutions. But then very often, if you go into such growth domains, then you also see that you need completely different skills and assets to pursue that, and much more software-based, much more heavy on the technology. And then, of course, that's what you realize you need to transform from a telco to a Techco. But for me, it's in the end, it starts always with a bold ambition on growth and growing outside of your traditional core business.
And just to bring it back a little bit in what you mentioned, you're looking at growth outside your core, which, as we know, is connectivity. And you mentioned digital communication solutions. Within that, at Proximus, what do you specifically have in that area?
But I think we have two. I think there's multiple things, but I think if I would mention two things, of course, first in the Benelux, we have with Proximus Next a very large IT brand that provides IT services in cloud security and so on in the B2B. So that's a very strong growth area, of course, that we have since a while. And more specifically on the international part, we have a few affiliate companies. Telesign, Bix, but recently also Route Mobile, that are really specialized in global digital communications. For example, provide communication platform as a service towards other enterprises, or that provide digital identity services, where, for example, whenever you create an account on Airbnb, for example, we typically can verify whether the phone number is legitimate. So that type of digital communication services, that's for us a major growth area and that we can run and offer at a global scale.
Thank you, Jeroen. Sorry for the very extended introduction of yourself. And Frank, in your view, what defines a Techco? Coming from a telco, obviously, but what's your best definition of Techco? Because it might change in the future.
Yeah, of course, it might change. I think we can approach that from a different angle. If I think about it on what we have been able to achieve so far in this transformation, and what is the result of that, what is the benefit we are bringing on the table. And very funny, I'm currently in London, not in the same building as Mobile Europe, but for another big event, and we have just announced Click. And what is Click for Orange Wholesale International is our umbrella name for all this transformation across digitalization, network as a service, on-demand services, self-care, and at the end of the day is to allow our customers to design their connectivity. That's really what is Click. And what is behind? And behind is this first level of transformation from telco to Techco. And what does it bring? It, of course, it's completely wrapped around all the magic word of automation, orchestration, API, of course, all what is bringing value. And if I have to think about four main steps, the first one is changes. Thanks to this transformation today, within our infrastructure, in our network, we are able to do changes in seconds or minutes instead of weeks or months. Of course, we can do aggregation. So we can aggregate over backbones, over local loops, in order to offer seamless experience from our customers. And the seamless experience is starting for whether from a digital portal or an API, in order for them to do quotation, to do eligibility, to do ordering, and at the end of the day, to have a seamless EVPL link, for example, from point A to point B, even not knowing that they are going through our own infrastructure and sometimes through third-party infrastructure that we have been able to integrate and that we are able also to be aggregated. Then we have the next level, which is our telco cloud platform, represented today on 5 continents, more than 50 POPs, on which we have infrastructure as a service possibility, container as a service possibility, that we are able to offer for our customers. And let's imagine an IoT operator willing to have a P gateway across the globe in Asia or in America or in Europe. He can download, he can put his P gateway, virtualized P gateway, and he can use our backbone and that directly from our telco cloud infrastructure. And the next level is, of course, offering on-demand services for our customers, like the cloud is doing. So we are doing that, and it's probably the particularity of what Orange is doing in this telco to Techco, is to develop all this technology, to act with all the cloud technology, let's say native cloud technology, but remaining our backbone. The backbone is the essence of all what we are doing in wholesale. So we still have our backbone, which allow us to do from network as a service, from boundaries as a service, up to a lot of new services around. That's very important, this telco to techco transformation. And it's even more important because this is a description. But at the end of the day, why we are obliged to move forward into that direction, and it's mainly because we are living in a digital economy on which no one is anymore to develop and to provide end-to-end services, digital services, without federating, aggregating, interconnecting with others. So we need to be prepared for that, and we are now prepared. And of course, the journey is just at its beginning.
Very good. So the journey, two things I think are really interesting that you mentioned. First one, click. Am I correct that the name alludes to the fact that people can provision with one single click? Is that the ambition?
That's the ambition, of course.
Okay, so that's just for me to understand it better. But what you mentioned is that the journey is just at the beginning, which I think most people listening to us would agree, and probably they are on the same journey as you are. On a different path, we've got Kirk coming from a cloud environment. So everybody wants to be like you in the telco world. Tell us about it.
So when I think of a Techco, I think of a company that is software-driven, agile, modernized infrastructure. They build their portfolio, unlike telcos today, where the portfolio is built around the telco building the service and offering you the service. We see Techcos as providers who have a diverse portfolio of services to enable the customer experience. So they focus more on the customer than the network. And a good example that I think of is often you think of AWS. Now, AWS doesn't necessarily offer you a service, but they offer you the components so you can build something. So they'll give you a little bit of memory, they'll give you a little bit of storage, they'll give you some CPU, and then you use that to deploy your application or build your service. And really, we see Techcos as being the same. So instead of having kind of a singular approach where here is the single capability that we're selling to enterprises, we see them offering the building blocks so that as an enterprise, I can assemble my service on top of the network. So I think the network portion of it has to transform that way to provide these building blocks that enterprises can use. But then we also think that Techcos have to transform their view where it's not so much focused on the network. The network is important. And in fact, for Techcos, it's very important because there are SLAs associated with it. In some cases, there's emergency calls. All of those things must work and must work really well. But to make this transformation, really need to focus on customers and the customer relationship and delivering differentiated customer experiences on the network. That's going to really be a key part of the transformation moving forward. Another area to think through in terms of transformation is also the operating model, right? Instead of today's slow, manual, often very expensive operations, Techcos need to use agile methodologies. Frank spoke about this, but need to incorporate more of an open framework, incorporate APIs so that they can continually bring in third-party innovations because we can't expect them to do it all themselves. And then finally, the business model, we think is also important, where Techcos really need to have the ability to adapt to their customers' changing needs and requirements and be able to pivot very quickly to take advantage of some of the new market opportunities that are out there. So for example, we're seeing a lot of activity around edge in manufacturing, edge in retail, utilities, as a lot of these market segments transform themselves. Well, the Techcos need to be ready to take advantage of these new business models and transform themselves that way.
Very good. Thank you, Kirk, and thank you all for providing your view of Techco. Kirk, I want to kind of double click on something you've just mentioned, that it's more important to provide the building blocks and have a good customer relationship rather than wanting to focus on the end service, which is obviously true for many businesses. But when we talk to many telecom operators, they still have that view of being able to almost be like system integrators and provide an end-to-end solution to their customers. I don't know if you're familiar with this kind of discussion. I guess that kind of they go around a bit in circles sometimes. But what's your take with that? Should a telecom operator, in their quest to be a Techco, as in tapping into new revenue stream, should they aim to kind of create an end-to-end proposition, or create and maybe eventually playing like a system integrator in that role, or should they just provide the building blocks for their customers to put it together and eventually integrating it? I'm asking Kirk, but I guess it goes both with Frank and Jeroen too.
More than happy to answer, but you asked the question to Kirk, so let's answer first.
I'll try to answer that question. So I believe, and I'm not a telco, or I just from my observations from working with the telcos, I really think if the telcos continue to offer kind of this SI view where they deliver the single service, I think it leads them down a path where the value-added services are delivered over the top by the hyperscalers and by others. The value for the telco is really with the data that's within their network. And if they can expose that data and allow their customers, the enterprises, to use that data to combine it with functionality that is exposed from the network, whether it's slicing, whether it's leveraging the RIC to expose data in the RAN, capabilities from the RAN, I think the enterprises will figure out how to use that, right? And it's going to be something more creative than the telco can actually do themselves. The telcos are very much focused today on transport. They're very much focused today on selling you a circuit or something similar to that. Well, enterprises may want something else. And if you make available the information in the network, those building blocks, then I think enterprises will assemble that and build services that a telco couldn't envision on their own.
And that's, I guess, kind of goes back into that ecosystem approach. Frank and Jeroen, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. I think
go ahead. Okay, thank you, Jeroen. No. I would like maybe 3 points on that. First, we don't have to forget about the role of telco, which are, and especially on the global basis, that are also there too. You were speaking, Kirk, about connectivity, but it's true. But in the meantime, we are doing huge investment in order to make sure that the digital economy is working well, that the growing pace of traffic of internet, which is multiplied by 3 every 2 years, can continue to flow correctly across the oceans, thanks to submarine cable, across the different continents, thanks to terrestrial fibers, that we are providing to users the right quality of service with fiber local loop or 5G local loop. So of course, we are doing a lot in this area. So yes, from time to time, we need to value a bit this connectivity that we are deploying across the globe. But that's not the main important point. I think then it depends on, second point, it depends on the view, whether it is on the retail market or into the wholesale market. I am used to know also the B2B market, being in Orange Business during 10 years, but what is important is what your customer is willing to get at the end of the day. And of course, an operator like Orange Business, an actor like Orange Business, is acting like a system integrator. And I think the time where the telco, and at least within Orange, were willing to provide a monolithic solution is over, totally over. Can tell you that we have gone from that within Orange Business a few years ago, and we are integrating, whether it is on a pure integration mode, but whether it could be also into a more modern digital way to make it by integrating solution with our network, with our solution, thanks to APIs, to automation, and all these kind of things. And still customers are willing to get someone who are doing the integration. And sometimes it's a telco, sometimes it's a pure SI. On the wholesale side, what is very important is we are part of this digital economy value chain. And the digital economy value chain, as I mentioned before, will not work if we are not able to transform, to offer this Lego brick. And sometimes we are aggregated, sometimes we are offering only a piece of the solution, sometimes we are able to deliver a full solution, a digital solution. Like, for example, we are currently developing a solution, a 5G core network as a service for our customers, which could be a MNO or MVNO or these kind of actors. And sometimes they are very happy to have a full solution that they can bring from us in a as a service mode, on-demand services is exactly what we are willing. And I think the last part on this area is something which is part of the DNA of the telco, and that is even more important today. When you think about the B2B market, think about the Metropolitan Internet Forum. I'm standing at the board of this organization. We have this DNA of making sure that things will work and will interconnect easily. And what MEF is doing is to bring the complete ecosystem with the vendor, like yourself, for example, but also with Cisco, Juniper, Fortinet, Palo Alto, all the actors. We also have the IT actors. We have all the service providers, whether they are acting as a wholesale actor or a retail actor. And we are defining the use cases. And then we are defining, it's not a kind of standardization like we are doing 10, 15 years ago, but we are defining the use cases. We are defining the payload, and then we are able to develop orchestration, automation, API around that. And without that, the B2B at the end of the day will never be able to do whatever through a service integrator, a telco integrator by themselves, if no one is taking care as that this piece of network will work with this piece of security, with this solution in terms of SD-WAN, with this solution in terms of monitoring. You need someone, you need industry body to make sure that all this will work in interconnect together. Otherwise, we will go back to monolithic vendor solution that customers are completely rejecting today. If I look at how the SASE market is evolving, we can see that SASE marketing is not going very fast. And the main point is how to make sure that I can choose a SD-WAN solution, which is different from my security solution, which is different from my monitoring solution. And that is very important for customers.
Very good. Thank you, Frank. Jeroen, you wanted to add something on that?
Yeah, let me just, I think, make the same point in other context. For me, indeed, it's not about do we need to create end-to-end solutions or not. It's more the point. Yes, of course, you need to offer an end-to-end solution, but it cannot be monolithic. And it's the same way that we do in our digital communication offering globally. For example, if a customer wants to build a digital customer journey, whether he chooses SMS, WhatsApp, or email, we have the solution. If he wants to integrate his own ways of identifying and verifying customer, he can. But we also offer solutions via two-factor authentication or silent verification to do so. If he wants to close a payment transaction in WhatsApp, he can bring his own payment provider, but we also offer a solution. If he wants to integrate GenAI chatbots in that interaction, he can bring his own solution, but we also have a solution. And I think that's, the way to look at it. I think you need to be able to offer that end-to-end solution so that customers that don't have anything else are a bit de-hassled from integrating and picking everything themselves. But you need to leave the freedom to, of course, customers to integrate existing or own solutions that they might have already. So I think it has to be modular, but we should also not fall into the pitfall of making it too modular, that it becomes incomplete and that we only solve 30% of the customer problem. And so it has to be end-to-end in its totality that I strongly believe in a certain domain.
almost like saying you can either bring your own or use our own. You choose, but that's it. Kind of opens one of the key topic of the telco to techco transformation. Sometimes is that are telecom operators in the mind frame or in the mindset of implementing essentially what is described as co-opetition, so working with companies that are their partners one day, but also competitors the next day, or in the same bid sometimes. And that's, I mean, that's a classic, let's say, setup in the cloud and internet world, not so much in the telecom space, or at least it wasn't until a very recent past. Now, I've got two telecom operators here, and I know both of you have been changing a lot. How do you think that that mentality has shifted? Is it still shifting? Has the shift completed, or is it still happening?
Working into the wholesale business, I would have no business if I was not able to work with my competitor, because of course all customers are, whether they are hyperscalers, whether they are mobile operator or fixed operator, sometimes local or regional, sometimes acting as a global operator across the globe. We also have all the digital economy actors like the data center owners, Equinix, digital realty, and so on. So we have a lot of our competitors, and I think the mentality has shifted quite for a while. I think few elements in the market. First of all, if I look at it from a wholesale perspective, the level of investment today in the capacity to make sure that the pace of the internet grow in terms of flow will continue to be absorbed by all the backbones, the transatlantic submarine cables, the terrestrial fibers. It's so huge that you need to work with all the actors that are willing to move forward into investing into this capacity to make that happen. So it's basic, but of course you can think about digital, but if you have no network, you have no digital at all. So that's a very important point. Another one is what I just said before, is in terms of mentality and partnering together. When I look what is happening currently in MEF, and we have started with, I would say, framing globally between us this digital journey since 2016 or 17. So that has been the turning point. It's also the turning point of SD-WAN, of internet, of the connectivity for B2B customers. So we are working together, all together, defining the use case, making sure that we can interconnect between us. Because at the end of the day, the telecom industry is based on the fact that if it's easy for customer to interconnect, then it will develop the market. If it's not easy, the market will not develop. And you can look after the history, it has always been the case. Look about the roaming to the mobile industry. I'm doing a lot to enable the roaming in the wholesale market. It's incredible how the roaming is now easy for everyone to use his phone everywhere. And across the different layer of technology, 2G, 3G, 4G, now 5G, we are ready to make to interconnect on 5G and 5G standalone starting in 2025. All the standards are there. We are ready to make it happen. So that's completely some clear example about the shift in the industry. And it's not only between us, it's also, I would say, between telcos and vendors, telcos and hyperscalers. I think Orange Business is Amazon One and Microsoft Virtual One service provider, managed service provider since 2017 or something like that. So we are able to work with all our competitors. It's a competition market now, and we are moving forward. And just the last thing, in terms of are we ready to move into that and to go into the customer orientation? I think the names Click is there to demonstrate concretely this shift again, and also into the wholesale market.
Thank you, Frank. Jeroen, did you want to add anything?
No, I can only confirm, and for me, it's indeed, I think for me the mindset already has fully shifted, and I think most telcos are in the journey to execute that. For me, it's also not I think it was never really a question of mindset. I think for me, it's just hard business logic. We've all invested a lot in 5G and fiber networks, and I think we all realized to fully monetize those assets, we need to create openness, we need to develop software services on top of those networks. So that's clear. And also all the telcos that are looking actually for growth opportunities outside of their geographical network scope, they will also fall into software services, requiring them to do that transition from telco to techco. So I think there's a very hard business driver behind that transition.
Okay, so going back into one of thank you, Frank. I think coming from all of you, your comments, it seems that the transition is in full kind of motion, if not happened already. Business logics have changed. Co-opetition, just to reuse one of Frank's words, is there. Now, going back into one of the main points of the telco to techco transformation within the ecosystem is to generate new revenues that go beyond the connectivity. Now, I know it's probably not the easiest one, but which one, if any, are the easy wins within this kind of revenues beyond connectivity, in your view, or in your kind of current work that you are executing? I guess, Kirk, you will want to promote, quite rightly, edge opportunity. Maybe we start from you.
That's exactly where I was going to go with this, Dario. I think edge is probably the quick win, at least from our perspective. When you look at what's happening now around manufacturing, financial services, healthcare, 5G really allows for an opportunity to build custom edge solutions for these particular verticals. And really, we think as this transformation to Techco happens, it's important to take advantage of, there's an ecosystem there, a broad ecosystem serving those set of customers. And so it's really important for our CSPs to take a look at forging new partnerships with these ISVs who are already serving these set of customers to help to build solutions that can help with their go-to-market efforts. So I think getting into this new emerging edge transformation is really something that our Techcos, our customers that are moving to Techco, they could focus on that particular use case, and it helps them to drive repeatable designs that they can use across a much broader set of customers. Also helps them with building out the ecosystem that they'll need to launch these new services.
And Kirk, if I can prompt you a little bit on the edge, obviously we all remember back in 2019, edge seemed to be the only most important use case for 5G. Then it kind of went a little bit quieter, and now picking up again, at least in the interest of service providers. But the question to you is, what role do you think a service provider needs to play within the edge opportunity? Are we talking about deploying infrastructure, offering it as a service? Are we talking about co-location? Are we talking about professional services? What is it that kind of would define the role of telecom operators within edge?
So I think if you looked in the past, edge was all about bringing in the hyperscalers and co-locating with the hyperscalers in the POPs. And that really didn't go anywhere. I think when you look at the future of edge, you look at the adoption in retail of computer vision, loss prevention, for example. You look at manufacturers who are building out manufacturing floors that are virtualized, and they're kind of taking the same transition that happened in the RAN, where they're going from physical kind of fully integrated solutions to more virtual disaggregated solutions on the manufacturing floor. That represents an opportunity for CSPs to go in and offer a service, on-prem service, just like they do managed router services today or managed LAN services today. They can do managed services for retail, where they are hosting the compute platform that has the GPUs that are necessary for computer vision. They're helping a manufacturer transform their manufacturing floor, and it's a managed service for them. So I think it's going to be a very different model than was tried before. And it's going to be actually, it's going to be very much in line with what our CSPs are doing today in terms of services. It's just going to be on a small footprint, edge stack versus on, say, a physical device today.
Very good. And thank you, Kirk. That's very clear. Maybe we go back into Edge a little bit later on. And from Frank, from your point of view, or Jeroen as well, whoever wants to go first, which one would you identify as the kind of easy? I mean, easy is within commas, because as we know, nothing is easy. But which one would it be the priority one, I would say, in terms of non-connectivity revenues? Yeah.
Go ahead, Frank.
Okay. I think different topic. First one is thanks to all these telco to techco and the structure as mentioned, and also due to the fact that the technology is moving as a so fast pace, we can see that not all the actors, all the operators will be able to follow the trend, or even has a willingness to follow the trend and to invest in capex or to invest in skills to adopt new technology. And we are seeing that more and more. And I think it's part also to the mindset shift that we were speaking about before. We are seeing actors, CTO in operators, looking for buy solution as a service solution instead of make solution. And and it was not possible to do a service for a third-party operator yesterday with traditional type of network ecosystem and so on, which is possible today. As I mentioned, we are developing a 5G core network as a service. It was even not imaginable that someone will buy a core network as a service, not located into his data center, not under his umbrella, not under his engineer to manage it. So it's something that is clearly happening now, and we have few examples on that. So outsourcing solution for third-party operator is definitely an area where we are seeing some growth coming into the market, of course, with the associated professional services and so on. I think one second topic which is important is security. We are providing IP transit, we are providing roaming, we are enablers and so on. So security around these solutions is definitely a key part. And you can see the development of Orange into the cyber security with Orange Cyber Defense. It's growing at a pace never seen before. And the third element, and we touched a bit on that before, it's all that is providing more element to reinforce the quality of experience of the customers. And sometimes is, of course, the quality of experience of our own customers, but as a wholesaler, we are also taking care of the quality of experience of the customer of our customers, or customers of our customer. And it's also an area where we can see some growth coming, some potential business. And all this is completely due to the fact that we have completely reorganized our infrastructure and network in order to be fully compliant and ready in this Techco world. Sorry.
Before Jeroen, can I just ask a question about your core as a 5G core as a service, because you mentioned it a couple of times. It's very new in the market, and
Yeah.
not only from yourself but in the market in general. It's not something that has been seen much of it before. Where is it? As in, where is it hosted? It's more of a personal curiosity than.
So far the idea is to host it in our telco cloud. So as I said before, we have a telco cloud infrastructure across the globe, but we have some current discussion to potentially host it somewhere else. And again, that's part of the discussion we have had at the beginning with Kirk. Using all these technologies allows us not only to develop inside our infrastructure, but we are using the standard technology of the cloud. So if at one point in time we need to host this in Amazon or in Azure or in a dedicated data center that the customer is willing to have, it's quite easy to put the solution inside this infrastructure because it's using the standard technologies.
That's quite fascinating. And Jeroen, back to you. I'm shortchanging you with time, I'm afraid, but prioritization or easy wins in the Techco world, which one would you pick?
Easy, but let's just big ones. I think definitely
easy between
on top of connectivity. It's I think definitely IT integration services for enterprises. I think we're especially in areas where security, IoT, cloud. That's where I think you also have a unique right to win as a telco. It's very close to your connectivity and your core expertise of your people. And yeah, for us, of course, that the global digital communication play, as we already said, but that of course a bit specific to our context. I think going further, building more end-to-end solutions, including IC integration around cloud, security, IoT is probably the most obvious path, I think, to go to.
Thank you so much. So I don't see questions from the audience unless I've missed something. Maybe Annie can confirm if there are.
Oh, I'm afraid not. Maybe there will be more when they've had a good think about it, but not right now. There was a lot of information. I thought that was a terrific panel. Thank you, Jeroen, Kirk, Frank, and to Dario for moderating. That was terrific. We look forward to seeing you all at some time in the future. We hope.